Hello, we will talk a lot more about this before we reach graduation, but I want to bring it up about your teaching interview. Many of you have questions. I think this is a nice place to start to get more information, to become more comfortable, to think about those questions that you're going to be asked. And these 11 questions that I'm going to go through, not all 11, but I want you to go through and read about will help you. And you're most likely going to be asked these questions at your interview. And all the other questions that we've kind of already talked about, if you think of these questions, they're incorporated in what you may be asked. I would just add to this list that, tell me about, be ready to talk about what the transition to teaching during COVID has been for you. So the first one is one that you should knock out of the park. Why did you decide to become a teacher? There you can really be yourself and talk about your experience, what led you to teaching. And then the second one is tricky. How would you handle a student who is constantly disruptive or defiant? And what they're trying to do is to get you to, talk about, they may press you on the original question, like, what about this student who's constantly disruptive and defiant? Or you can try and pivot it to how you minimize misbehavior so it's not chronic or severe. And then if you go read this article, it tells you 8 ways to do that. And then if they do press you, the principal presses you on that, then it gives you different ways to deal with students who are, constantly disruptive or defiant. So you'll want to look through this. And this is what I love about this article is each one of these has different links to help you kind of think through and give you resources to answer each question. You'll be asked about literacy. What are you doing to support literacy, including English language learners? So these resources will walk you through it. Everyone, I agree with this. Every teacher is a literacy teacher, and it gives you different ways to support those students. And then this one is interesting. It may get to they may, I don't know, they may ask you this: do you incorporate collaborative and project-based learning? And the collaborative piece, yes, they will ask you pretty much for sure. I don't know about the project-based learning, but be ready to talk about how you have students collaborate, work together, do group work, do group projects, or and how those group projects can have individual components and all those things. And this link will help you kind of think that through. And then how do you keep students motivated and engaged? 10 engagement techniques to create that student-centered classroom. And then how do you integrate technology, which I know you're awesome and you all have the answer to that question with items and content you've created in our Google Classroom. And then finally, what are your professional development goals? Where do you want to grow? That one is really personal to you. What do you want to be? What do you want to learn more about? What do you want to become better at? Whether it's literacy instruction, maybe you want to learn more about the latest literacy and language and literacy instruction techniques that are research supported. You want to be on the cutting edge. So you can talk about that. But again, I think this last piece is important. Don't frame it as a weakness. Like, I don't know anything about teaching literacy and language developments. Don't frame it like that. Do frame it like, I want to learn more about literacy and language instruction because I know it is a huge piece of student success, and I want to position myself as the best teacher for my students to learn these critical skills. And then finally, the last one, this one can make or break an interview that went really well and turn it from great to uh-oh. Make sure you have a question. And I had not heard this one before, but if you're really stumped for a question, a lot of you really have genuine questions about the district, maybe something specific about the curriculum. That's great. But if you're stuck, and even if you're not, I like this. But if you ask, please tell me the most important thing you know now as an educator that you wish you knew before you began your teaching career. And that sets the interview or the interviewer up to reveal what they're, what they value about education. And that insight, if you're listening, you can help tailor your closing conversation to their interests, you know. So you're digging. It's like a detective. You're digging at that point, and that question allows you to reveal what your interviewer really believes about education. So you're going to be great. We'll talk a lot more about this. So please read this article and go through the links. It'll be really helpful for you. Thanks.